Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of broken dates today. So the first news coming today is coming from North Korea, where we've just gotten news that the Russian Defense Minister, Andriy Belousov, has just arrived in North Korea. So the Russian Defense Minister was met by North Korean Defense Minister No Chul at the Suan airport ahead of planned bilateral meetings with military and political leaders. So the first thing the Russian Defense Minister did in the North Korean capital, it was that the Russian Defense Minister honored the memory of Soviet soldiers who fell during the liberation of Korea in 1945, and then the Russian Defense Minister met with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in the capital city of North Korea, Pyongyang. So during the talks with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and the Russian Defense Minister, Andriy Belousov, the Russian Defense Minister, noted that the ratification of the Treaty of Comprehensive Strategic Partnership between Russia and North Korea confirms both nations' commitment to advancing their relations further. So, very big news is coming out right now, but obviously the full results of the meeting between the Russian Defense Minister and Kim Jong-un is still not out yet, because the Russian Defense Minister visited very recently. So if you want to keep updated on the treaties that come out of the Russian and North Korean meetings, just subscribe and like, and I'll keep you updated on it, and we'll probably cover this topic in the next video. So now let's just really quickly go over South Korea. So we've got news that South Korea has now just started using Russian T-80U tanks and BMP-3s vehicles acquired in the 1990s as target practice. So we've gotten videos and images that support this evidence. So we've just gotten news now that South Korea is now using Russian tanks and obviously BMP vehicles acquired in 1990 as target practice to train South Korean soldiers. So very interesting news. We've also got news that South Korea has refused to supply weapons to Ukraine. The minister, the Ukrainian defense minister, his visit to South Korea was unsuccessful, reports South Korean channel SBS. So we had news yesterday. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, that the Ukrainian defense minister Umarov decided to visit South Korea to try and get South Korea to try and donate weapons to Ukraine to fight Russia, and it seems apparently to the South Korean channel SBS it has completely failed, and South Korea will not give weapons to Ukraine, but actually use Russian equipment as target practice. So very funny. We've also got news that 82% of South Koreans are apparently against military aid to Ukraine. This was reported by Reuters. So at the same time, most South Koreans admit that growing military ties between North Korea and Moscow, so Russia, pose a threat to their country. Therefore, military aid to Ukraine is senseless. So interesting news. And now let's head to Kazakhstan, where we received news that the Russian President Vladimir Putin arrived at a CSTO summit in Kazakhstan. So, if you don't know what CSTO is a defensive military alliance, which is just like NATO, but CSTO consists of old Soviet republics such as Belarus, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, and obviously Russia. So let's just get into the CSTO meeting itself. So we've got news that other leaders actually attended the CSTO summit, including Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko, and the president of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. But the Armenian Prime Minister did not attend. So the president of Kazakhstan stated that CSTO has become a key structure in ensuring peace and stability across the Eurasian space. Kazakhstan's president underscored the CSTO's crucial role as a security guarantor for its member states, emphasizing its significance in upholding peace and stability amid challenges in the world. We've also gotten some statements coming from Vladimir Putin at the CSTO summit. He said that Russia will not allow Ukraine to obtain nuclear weapons, and if Ukraine obtains nuclear weapons, Russia will deploy all means of destruction. Putin made some comments on Europe and the US. Putin said that the West showed Russia a place in the corner based on its geopolitical interests, but the Russian Federation coped with it. Europe was lowered below the baseboard. It ceased to exist as an independent decision-making center. It dances to the tune of the US. Putin also made some comments on Armenia's absence at the CSTO meeting in Astana, the capital city of Kazakhstan. Putin said that each country has a right to choose what it will do in the field of security. Armenia has not yet declared its desire to leave CSTO. There is a possibility of the Yerevan returning to full-fledged work in the bloc. And Putin's last comments was about Afghanistan. So Putin said that we hope that we will be able to build good relations with Afghanistan. We have relations with the current authorities, so the Taliban in Afghanistan. We will continue to develop them. So very big and interesting news. And now let's head to some statements coming from Russia. We've got news that the Russian Secretary of the Security Council and the former defense minister of the Russian Federation, Sergei Shoigu, stated that Russia has updated its nuclear doctrine to prioritize the protection of CSTO members states under its nuclear umbrella. So Russia will now, under this new nuclear doctrine, will also protect Kazakhstan and Armenia, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Belarus. I quote, its nuclear umbrella. And now let's go to Ukraine. We've got news that the Netherlands has delivered 3 Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. The Dutch Prime Minister of the Defense announced this on social media. He also predicted that the Ukrainians will face, I quote, a harsh winter due to the devastating air raids. So this now puts the military aid that the Netherlands have provided to Ukraine to 3.8 billion euros since the start of the conflict in Ukraine. We've also got news that the EU and Ukraine has signed a message granting Ukraine 18.1 billion euros, which is to be repaid from the profits of frozen Russian assets. This was announced by the deputy head of the European Commission. We've also got news that the Biden administration is preparing a $725 million aid package to Ukraine, obviously to try and get as much aid to Ukraine until his end of the term as the US president. So the Biden administration is apparently, allegedly preparing a $725 million arms package for Ukraine. So it's allegedly reported that in this $725 million aid package, anti-tank weapons, landmines, drones, and Stinger missiles and HIMARS ammunition, including cluster munition, will be included. So this is just a last defense. These are the last aid packages that the US will do to Ukraine. Obviously, because Donald Trump is going to become the next president of the United States. We've got news that Finland and Estonia are considering withdrawing from the Ottawa Treaty to supply anti-personnel mines to Ukraine. And now let's head to Germany. We've got news that in Germany, electricity prices will rise due to an increase in wind energy production, according to Bloomberg. So forecasts predict that electricity prices in Germany will increase by 3% next week. We've got news coming from the EU that Joseph Borrell is to step down as EU chief diplomat this Friday. Today. So the European Parliament has just approved the new European Commission lineup led by Euro von der Leyen, with Kaja Kallas as the new EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs for the EU. So Kallas, the new EU chief diplomat, is the ex-Estonian Prime Minister, and she is known for her strong anti-Russian stance. So there's probably not going to be anything much different regarding support to Ukraine from the EU. We've got news that France has just declared non-compliance with the ICC arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. So the French government has announced on the 27th of November that it will not comply with the arrest warrant issued against the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by the International Criminal Court last week. We got news coming from Senegal, the African country of Senegal, that Senegal follows Chad and Niger in cutting military ties with France. So the president of Senegal has just announced today that France must close all of its military bases in Senegal, stating that their presence is incompatible with the country's sovereignty. So very big news coming from Senegal. And the next news we have received is coming from Lebanon, where we've gotten the latest Israeli military presence in southern Lebanon. So if we can see this image that was released by the Cradle, you can see the Israeli presence in southern Lebanon. So the Israeli presence is highlighted in yellow. So this is apparently the latest Israeli positions since November the 27th, since the declared ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. And it seems that this ceasefire has already, it seems to be collapsing already. So we've got news coming from the Lebanese Prime Minister that we call to put pressure on Israel to stop violating the ceasefire. So apparently to the Lebanese Prime Minister, Israel has already started to apparently temper in the ceasefire. So very interesting news. Now I'll keep you updated on that, but it seems that the ceasefire between Hezbollah/Lebanon and Israel are crumbling already. So not the best news we are hearing from this direction. We've gotten some news coming from Syria. So there's been a huge conflict that has arisen in Syria again, of Syrian rebels actually taken over the Syrian city, major Syrian city of I think by the name of Aleppo. I'll put it here in your bottom right corner. But we've got news that Syrian rebels have entered the central city of this city here for the first time in 8 years. So the rebels celebrated their victory by setting off fireworks, and these Syrian rebels also released apparently prisoners from, I quote, from the Assad regime. So the rebels, the first thing they did was release prisoners who were apparently unfairly imprisoned. So I'll keep you updated on that. And we've also got news that while the rebels took over the city, they also captured 2 Russian-made T-72 B2s and B3 tanks that were abandoned by retreating National Syrian Army from the city here. So it seems that a huge conflict has now arisen, and I'll be keeping you updated on that. But again, I don't have all the news. I might have to make one actual separate video covering all the news in Syria, because there's been some very big news that have arisen, and it seems that clashes in Syria have resumed on a large scale again. And now let's head to Armenia, where we've got news that Armenia appears to be gearing, it seems to be gearing up for a new conflict with Azerbaijan. So we've got videos that have been published on social media that show Armenian military columns moving towards the border in number of exceeding routine rotations. So if you see this video here in the bottom left corner, we've got more and more videos showing Armenian heavy equipment that are being transferred to the Azerbaijan border, and I'll keep you updated on that. We've got news coming from Georgia that the Georgian opposition gathered for protests in a number of different parts of the country after the newly elected Prime Minister of Georgia announced that the country is suspending EU accession talks until 2028. So I think it's called the Georgian Dream Party, has now suspended EU accession talks into the EU, Georgia's accession to the EU, until 2028. We've got news coming from Myanmar. So we've got news that the International Criminal Court has just sought the arrest warrant for the Myanmar military leader. So the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor asked judges on Wednesday to issue an arrest warrant for the head of Myanmar's military government for alleged war crimes committed against the country's Muslim minority. The Rohingya Muslim minority. So the senior general Min Aung Hlaing, who took power from the elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi in a coup in 2021, is accused of crimes against humanity. So Myanmar's military leader, General Hlaing, has been has just been issued an ICC, an International Criminal Court arrest on him. I'll keep you updated on that. We've got news coming from the US and Taiwan. That's the United States has approved the large scale of spare parts and support for F-16 fighter jets and active electronically scanned array radars to Taiwan worth $320 million. So the deliveries are expected to begin in 2025. I am very sure that the mainland China will respond very harshly to this in the upcoming days. And the last news today is coming from Australia. We've got news that Australia has officially banned social media for children under the age of 16, the BBC reports. So today, the government of Australia has just adopted the law of banning young Australians under 16 of accessing social media. So the Australian Prime Minister Albanese stated that this is a global problem and we want young Australians to essentially have a childhood. We want parents to have peace of mind. So this was stated by the Australian Prime Minister Albanese, and the Australian Senate approved social media ban on under 16-year-olds. So I'll keep you updated if there's anything related to that, but that's all the news I actually have for you today. I am Non-Scene News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.